Hi guys, welcome to Digital TechJoint. In this video, I'm going to show you how to implement paging, and I'm going to use .NET Framework 6.0 and Visual Studio 2022. So let's get started. So open Visual Studio 2022, click on Create New Project. Select the template ASP.NET Core Web App Model View Controller. Click on Next. Name the project. I'm going to name it as Paging Demo. Click on Next. Framework 6.0. For now, I'm going to untick configure for HTTPS. Click on create. For this demo, I'm going to use the Northwind database. I'm using the database as MS SQL database as a backend, and I'm going to use the Northwind database. And if you wish to install Northwind database, just search for install Northwind database and select the second link, that is get the sample as SQL server database, and click on the link Northwind and pub sample database, and then click on install Northwind MS SQL data SQL and click here view raw scripts. So here you can see the entire scripts. You can just copy the entire script and paste it in your query window and create the database. So I have the database ready over here, and I'll just open and show it to you. So this is my database Northwind, and I'm going to use the table customers to show you the paging demo. So let's get started. The project is already loaded. First thing we are going to do is add the connection string. We click on app settings.json and just mention connection string and name it as default connection. I've already stored that in my notepad, so just copy this. Guys, there are a lot of videos in my channel which details out about this connection string, using database, creating models. So I'm not going to get into that. You can refer many videos in my channel which describes and demos this on the subject. So I've created this connection string. Now let's create the model class. So I go ahead. So before you go ahead and create the model, make sure you add certain packages. So right click on the project, select manage NuGet packages. So first we are going to install the core. So here is the installation version 6.0.3, which is a stable one. So let's click on install, okay, and say I accept. Now similarly, let's go, since we are using MS SQL database as a backend, we need to also have entity framework core.sql server 6.0.3. Click on install, okay, and I accept. Yes, so both the packages is now installed. Now let's go ahead and create the model class. Right click and right click on models, right click and select class and say customer entity. We'll define the properties. As I told you, I've already copied that over here. So we need the reference system.component model.data annotations, and then we add these fields as a property. So our data model is ready. Now let's go ahead and add the data context class which will hold the database connection. So create a folder, db layer, and then right click and say add class db context paging. Now here we are going to add the reference Microsoft.entity framework core, and we are going to insert db context class. Click on your db context paging which we created and select the option to create generate constructor with options, and then we refer a model class. So we say paging demo.models, and we create public db set and customer entity. This becomes our customers, and because customers are table here, customers, so we're referring customers as entity. Now since we created the constructor and we are now we need to inject the same into a program.file. So create the connection string. We already created the connection string over here. Now we go to the programs, we have the db context class, and here we are going to use okay, so here we're going to use using Microsoft Entity Framework Core, then using paging demo dot models and using paging demo dot data layer. Now we need to inject the connection string over here. So what we are going to do is that we are going to add builders dot services dot add db contest. Make sure you add your db contest class, that is db contest paging, and options sorry, options and option dot use Microsoft Server and builders dot configuration dot get connection string, and you name it default connection, the one you have mentioned in your app.json setting. So this will hold our connection string. Now let's go to the controller. We already have a default home controller and we also have a default view. So if you look at the controller class, there is a action called index. We are going to use the same one, and this index already there in the view. So if you go to view, so this is our home controller and this is our index. So we are going to use, if you go to the view, this is the home controller and this is our index. So we are going to pre-populate the information here. So let's use the same home index, and first I'll show you by displaying all the records all the without the paging. So I'm going to add certain references, paging dot models, and use paging dot db layer. Okay, then I'm going to declare the data contest class read only and db contest paging, and I say db contest. Okay, now I inject that in the constructor paging, and I say contact, and I initialize the db contest equals to contest. So this is done. Now I go over here and I just simply return the data. So I say underscore db contest dot customers dot to list. Right. So this is done. So this will show me all the record in the view. Provided I make the provision, I will click on the index. Right now it is not doing anything. So even if you run this project, it will not show you the record because there is no HTML defined over here to fetch and display the record. If you run this, it will show you this same message which is displayed in the view. I'll just show it to you. So in this demo, we have not used any inbuilt managers or libraries to from the package manager to show the paging. We are going to create a class, a generic class, and show you how to display the paging record. See, right now there's nothing's displayed. So let's go ahead and first refer our class. So we are going to add some stuffs in the HTML. Okay, so the first thing is that we are going to refer the model class. So we say model, okay, and it will be listing object. Something is just hold on guys. Okay, so this is okay, and then we call our customer entity. Now we delete this. Since it's a list object, we are going to show the list of customers. That is why I've used a list object. Now I already created the HTML over here. It's a simple HTML. I'll explain to you. It's nothing to explain actually. It is the header, that is the customer ID, company name, title, and then we have the model. We loop in the models and display all the records. Okay, so there is okay, so I hope yes, so it's a list object because I'm returning list, so that is why it works now. Now let's go ahead and see the data in action. So guys, you can see we have shown the entire data. Now there is no pagination over here. It's the entire record. Now let's implement pagination over here. So what we are going to do is, okay, so we are going to close everything and we are going to create a class and name it as paginated list. Okay, so what this class is going to refer is use basic system using system.linkU, and you're going to use using Microsoft.entity framework. Okay, now this is a generic class, so we are going to say t colon list. Okay, now this has become a generic class. Now first we are going to declare a variable called int page index. Okay, then public int total pages, and then we are going to create a constructor that will be public paginated list, and then here we'll have list which is generic. We call it as items, then int count, int page index, and int page size. So this is a constructor. Page index is the index which you click, or the next number which you click, which is the page index 1 2 3, and the total page size. Now what are we going to do is page index, which we defined in the in our variable over here. So page index, okay, equals to page index, and then total pages, we'll calculate the total pages, which will be we'll apply some math dot ceiling, and this will be a count and page size. and then we are going to say this dot add range and items. So once a constructor is ready, we define two variables now, which is a boolean variable, public bool as previous page, and we are going to use a lambda expression, page index is greater than 1. Okay, and similarly public boolean as next, page index greater than total pages. So this will take care of the previous and the next button when you click on the paging. Now public static paginated list, and we say create. This becomes t generic, and this is source int page index, and then int page size. So this is a static method, and where count source dot count. So this will give you the total count, and then where items equals source dot skip page index minus 1, okay, page index minus 1, and multiply by page size, and then we say take page size, and finally we say to list. We will debug and walk you through this code, and then we say return new pagination dot list items count page index and page size. So this is our code which does the paging. This is the entire code which does the paging, and we will walk you through this code one by one. But now let's go ahead and implement this. So the first change we are going to do is that we'll go to our controller class, and now instead of passing this directly, we are going to use pagination class. So we are going to say first define a page size. In the page size, assuming we set it as 5, so we are going to say return, going to remove this line and say paginated list, and then we are going to say customer entity. We are passing the model, we are calling that method create, and now here we are passing db contest dot customers dot to list, the source, the entire data, okay, comma, then we are passing the page number. So page number I have not defined yet, I have supposed to define page number, and if the page number is null, it will return by default 1, and then finally the page size which I have defined in this. Now here I am going to define int optional, it can be null, and paste. So this is it, this is enter. Now one more change we have to do. Now here we are calling the method and returning, but we need to make the changes in the list. So now this is a list object. Now instead of list, it will be paginated, and this is a customer list. So now what is going to happen is that we are controlling entire pagination through this class which I defined it, and we have made the necessary changes in the controller class. Okay, and we have made it, but we have not given the provision for user to click on the next or the previous buttons. For that, what we are going to do is, first we are going to define two variable, previous disabled. This is one variable which says if model dot as previous page, then disabled, otherwise. This is my first criteria. Similarly, I'm going to define another next disabled, and this will be, just copy it and I paste it, and this will be as next. So this is coming from our paginated class. This variable values are coming from our paginated class. We have defined it over here as previous as next. I hope that is clear. Now this is a variable. Now we'll create two buttons, that is asp action, and we are going to say index because our this is our index, and we are going to use route and page number. So page number is defined in my home controller in the index page number. So this is a tag helper I'm using, and here I'm going to pass model dot page index -1 and define the class button btn hyphen default button at the rate I call my variable previous, this one, and I call this previous. Okay, now similarly I create one more button, and this time it is plus because we are moving ahead next, and this will be my next variable, and this will be next. So this is a completion of our code. Let's go ahead and execute this. So we just click on run, and we get an error. Okay, succeeded. Correct. So since we defined the page size as 5, for the first 5 it is displaying you the first 5 record. Now your previous button is disabled because this is the first page. The page index is first. Now click on next. You can see the next 5, next 5, next. Now if you go to the last page, your next will get disabled and your previous will be enabled. So I'll just explain you the class. You can take it from my project. I'll just explain you what this is the main core of this class. First, this is a generic class. We are passing our customer entity model, and then it is returning the data as normally you return the data to the controller to list. But here the skip and the take is actually doing the entire main work. Now if I just debug it and if I show it to you, I'll explain you how this records are returning to the view. So yes, so if you come over here, so the first, if you see the data count, it is total 91 records. Now Now what we have the source, which is has the 91 record. Now skip. So the first is, it is telling you to skip, or before skipping, it's saying page index, which is by default 1 minus 1, which will give 0, and multiply page size 5. So you are going to skip 0 records and take whatever page size it's, and take the page size which is 5. So by default, the command says to skip, there is no record to skip. It will by default fetch the first 5 records, because this take will fetch only the first 5 records and return to the view. So that's what is happening. Now if you could click on next, what happens is now your page index is 2, because you have clicked on the second page. So now you get 2 minus 1 is 1, multiply by page size, that is 5. So it says skip the first 5 records and take the page size as 5, because I have defined as 5 as a page size. So your first 5 record is skipped, and that is why you can see it is fetched this, the remaining next 5 records in the list object. So that was the most important thing that you should know. Remaining, this class is a very simple class, which is generic class, and this is the main code which is doing the paging. So I guess guys, you like this video. Please do like, and please do subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.